Hello everyone and welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide. My name is Adam Hancock once again. And today we're talking about a community called Palmera in my, accidental new construction series that I've been beating the drum on in the last few Wednesdays. But I would say if there's any single neighborhood that has been recently introduced to Southwest Florida that really provides a solution that a lot of buyers over the last 24, maybe even 36 months have been trying to figure out, kind of square peg and round hole, this has got to be up there with those options. You have a new community that comes out in a district called Wellen Park. Wellen Park in its own outright is pretty unique to the state of Florida. You have 12, 13, 14 different new construction communities that are all grouped together in a master plan way, so they're not unrelated to each other necessarily. There's been an evolution, but they're not unrelated. All of this, it's really hard to get 9, 10, 11 miles one way to 4 different beaches, which, if you take the state of Florida and you want land, you want new construction options, most of it's east, well, at least in this part of Florida, because west is the water. If you had great coastline that everybody wanted to be close to that even made these areas popular in the first place beyond just climate alone, they were developed first, because they were, why go east if you could go west to begin with? So there's just not land anymore to do these kind of things. There's knockdown new construction, all these kind of things. Second thing it did was it introduced for the first time a real compelling juxtaposition to Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Lakewood Ranch is the #1 master plan multi-generational development in the United States, 7 years running. So it's large, you have options on top of options on top of options. One of the rare places that looks better in person maybe than it does even online. So it was really Lakewood Ranch and everything else. This one offered enough neighborhoods that were similar enough to make it compelling. It was also a completely different area of town. So if you came to town, if you looked at both, now you're just a smarter consumer in general because you're not buying because there's not really another option. Even if that first option's great, having a choice where you can intentionally choose one or the other, it makes both of the decisions smarter. So you had that. And then they came out like just robust, like there was nothing there. And we were touring people in the previous community versions of what was eventually going to be in the Wellen Park district. So it's kind of weird. People couldn't really envision it, even if they saw the renderings. And then, all of it kind of comes out at one time. And it was like, basically what they did is they took the West Villages district, which was a couple neighborhoods that already existed. You had, there's stuff that's been building 10, 11, 12 years in there. Grand Palm by Neil, which was lovely. It was really unique. You had Oasis with MI. You had Renaissance with Matamine, a couple others floating around. They introduced a new section, and Boca Royale was down in Englewood, but they introduced a new section called the Playmore District. That's the real sexy one. The 7, 8 neighborhoods come in there, but that's like walkable to the downtown. It's on the right side of US 41. You have Cool Today Park, which is like the Braves spring training facility, but they do like 300 plus live events a year. There's a tiki bar open all year round. It kind of feels like this thing to people. So I would say, a lot of buyers step back and were like, I could be patient. I could call my shots. It just felt like you had so many options that it was abundant in a way that would benefit you, but which is in a lot of ways true. But then you start to dive into it. You say, okay, some of these districts, I want to be in the new district. This one neighborhood has 96 homes, no amenities, still a $400 HOA. The other one, they're speccing all the homes out, and the biggest home's 2,200 square feet. They have a Toll Brothers that I like. One, the build times were really long originally, and also maybe I fell in love with the Isles in Lakewood Ranch, and this Toll Brothers is just different. It's more pared down. It's not quite the same. You have another Matamine community. You say okay, well, I really want resort style amenities, and you're starting to break it down. You're like, okay, so I'm kind of pigeonholed, right? Because most of the original communities that came out that were like no frills, they were really playing this like Wellen Park's downtown and Venice Island's downtown is your town. So they're almost going, I think they originally thought maybe all of it was going to be kind of this like communal amenity environment. They felt like that's what they were kind of guessing. But then they found out that people really wanted, to come home to their own amenities as well. And they were in this little weird spot. So if you're looking for real resort style stuff, like a lot of that existed in country club communities, like golf related communities. So Sarasota National was done. People were in there like redoing homes and stuff. And that's a cool community, really nice amenities. They come up with another version of that called Wellen Park Golf and Country Club. But if you look at both these, it's all Lennar. Lennar is a very large volume builder, but they're a spec builder. Lennar is not your custom home builder. So you have like the best amenities they have, and you have one of the most turnkey economies of scale level builders. But that doesn't work, it doesn't work. If you're not romantic about golf, you're like, do you want to be involved in DD golf? There's that. You could say, okay, I guess I could look at Brightmoor. Brightmoor is the age-restricted 55 and up community, but one, it's age-restricted. Do you want that? And two, it's mad at me if it's a single builder. If you don't like that, it doesn't work. Boca Royale is an old-school golf community in Englewood, and you could kind of start to see how, like, you know, it'd be nice if I could take a little bit of all of this. Boom, pops in Palmera. So Palmera does a couple things I really like that I'm going to break down in the video in the following few minutes. One is it has mixed builders in a way that I have not seen. So listen to this lineup. You have David Weekley combined with Homes by Town, which is Lake House Cove and Shellstone and Lakewood Ranch. ICI Homes, which a lot of people have not seen. They look very similar, like Homes by Town, some of Toll Brothers, some of Stock Developments. MI Homes, which builds Sweetwater out in Lakewood Ranch. They do the townhomes in Nautique, Oasis here. In Wellen Park. Mattamy Homes is in here, of course. Mattamy Homes is a big player in the development-based stuff in the Palmera district, so you'll see them a lot. Neal Communities, of course. Neal Communities builds Grand Palm in Wellen Park, Wisteria in Wellen Park, Avelina in Wellen Park. They build Windward in Lakewood Ranch, Grand Park in Sarasota, around a lot. But that combination I've not seen in one single community. And what it does is it gives you, and then they're all going to kind of do their thing, right? You're going to see villas, you're going to see townhomes, you're going to see single families, and you're going to see an example of any other place you go in town. They have a little bit of all of it. It really is like they built a formula, like an algorithm of sorts, which lets a luxury buyer satiate their needs without going to a boutique custom home community. It lets someone grab a villa in between building another house. It lets someone go small on purpose. It lets someone get an affordable townhome if they loved what Nautique was, the most walkable community in Lakewood Ranch. Then they can do that here too. It's the same townhomes, and you can go to other places and you have predecessors now. You can see what other people did, which from a value standpoint, I was more competitive if more people can see a line of sight to what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's more of a guarantee of, that you're not buying. A lot of Wellen Park was people felt like they were taking a guess. They felt like they maybe were overspending doing a custom home or something when they had no idea if their home's going to be $1 million more valuable than anyone else's, and a lot of that was like they waited. So I think it solves a lot of that. It also has amenities that rival in some ways country club level amenities without being tied into those pigeonhole kind of age restricted or lifestyle restricted categories. It's going to give you like the restaurant and some of these things that not a random community would have. And then furthermore, just having that mix of variety in general is going to add to aesthetic and value, because one builder building 100 homes, even if they have 16 different floor plans, everybody picks the same 5 or 6. They make them do different colors. They don't look that different from each other. Most people do a coastal elevation. Your neighborhood looks identical. It's like pop, 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 pop. Some people don't like that. Having a bunch of different builders doing a bunch of different plans and owning a certain amount of lots each is going to make the neighborhood look a lot more well-rounded, a more conservative version of like the Lake Club kind of aesthetic, if you look at it that way. So all of that to say, really, really interesting. What I want to do is just go a little deeper in individual categories in the next following minutes. We're going to break down geography. I'm going to screen share and show you where this is at and why it matters. I'm going to talk about the homes a little bit more, just going to give you an idea of like floor plans, models, what they're doing right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what the amenities plan to be in here, and then maybe what to do next. Again, my name is Adam Hancock. You've arrived at the Florida Relocation Guide. If you like today's video, please consider subscribing. I also have a 2025 Sarasota, Florida Relocation Guide. Just finished it, about a week old by the time this video posts. And it's my favorite neighborhoods, places to eat, things to do, places to stay when you visit town, to tour communities, all that kind of stuff. And also I have a 30-day email list. If you're not on that, if you sign up for anything else, you'll be on that too. I send one email every 30 days, the last day of the month. It gives a lot of information that's more in real time than I can physically do here. So without further ado, let's hop in. Okay, let's first kick things off with location. And this is an important conversation because I think a lot of people come to town and they end up really focusing on one area, and then they start to trickle around to other parts of town. You kind of lose sense of where you are in like macro geography of what's important. So you might end up accidentally in an area that's like actually too far from what you want to be close to, but it doesn't happen like that binary, I feel like a lot of times. So I want to start right here with, it looks like a cluster, but just a micro, and then we'll zoom out, of the Wellen Park PDF kind of map. So this is all the kind of communities that I was mentioning earlier. So the original district was up here. This is Grand Palm. This is the Renaissance, Oasis. Tortuga was Lennar. Grand Paradiso was Lennar. Island Walk was one that people really liked. Island Walk's kind of like the old version of Talon Preserve in Nokomis or Beach Walk, which I did a video a couple weeks ago in Englewood, Stavosta. And then this is that downtown they just built. So the benefit of a suburban downtown like this, like Waterside and Lakewood Ranch, is back in the day, a huge knock on the suburbs where you had to like kind of go to the town for everything, which made like location really, really matter. But they're building these like shops, boutiques. This one is a 2-mile lake. You can like, I think you can, there's multiple different non-motorized watercrafts you can use in there. And it's got a lot of everything with the beach kind of thing. So anyway, you start to go down. Community we're going to focus on today is Palmera. And all of this section is going to be important. So this is Tamiami Trail right here. I'm just giving you a quick frame. This is the other border, River Road. And then you start to cut over here, Boca Royale. And you can see how they piece this thing together because this already existed and then this already existed. And then it's all just called Wellen Park. It looks great on the website, but there was an evolution of it. All right, we got that set. So this is in the southern part of Wellen Park. Here we are on the Google map of where it exists in the town. The Google Maps is very difficult to look at Wellen Park because of how like every builder in a neighborhood has an address. So that's where you are. So a couple things to look at. First, what you're doing here is, this is Venice Island. This is downtown Venice. If you're gonna go south, it's all about either being above the island, being on the island or central parallel to it, or being below the island. Because the argument would be, if you could be in Osprey and Nokomis, so if you can be below Sarasota but not below the island, you still have access to the island, just like below the island would, right? If you live below it or above it, you still have access to the same island. So you can come up this way, or you can come down this way. And the island is important because the island is the downtown. The island is Venice Beach. You have Brohard Beach below it, Casperson Beach below that. That's kind of like, once you get there, you get everything. Just like the Sarasota version. If you go up here, you have downtown Sarasota, 6 miles to Siesta Key, 3.5 to Lido, Longboat Key is here, and you have the main downtown, so west, everything, same idea. So why would you live below the island if you could live above it, or vice versa? Well, above the island gives you similar distance to Venice, but closer distance to also going north. It's the in-betweener. Osprey and Nokomis, Osprey is where Pine View Elementary is located, gets you in, like, not really losing Sarasota, but gaining Venice in people's mind. And they're developing that section right now. So below it, the big argument of what it has going for it now is you have Wellen Park. The reason that you would go south, if you're like Talon Preserve, I don't know if that works for me, or Vistera Venice or something like that, north, you go south, is because you have a master plan version. You have your own downtown. It's a mini Lakewood Ranch within the area, but you are intentionally sacrificing a little bit of distance to Sarasota. So it's important to not act like that isn't true. It's a trade-off. So I want to mention that. All right. So you've already decided to go south. This is what you're going to want access to, right? And this is interesting that it's so far south. It's not just south. It's not just south. It's south even to Wellen, if you remember that other map. It's at the very below of the map. But you have, so you creep into the Englewood border. So first thing, you move into Florida, you want beaches. This is what you're looking like right here. It's very interesting, and that's why I say 4 beaches. If I could type here. So the first one is Minnesota Key Beach. It's kind of a weird route at the moment, but we'll see what happens with that. But Minnesota Key Beach, 11 miles. That's the Englewood-based beach. Really good boca fishing down here too, if you're into that kind of thing. Other thing to go is above it. So I'm going to do a little coffee shop I like on the main strip here to give you the downtown Venice. Downtown Venice, 12 miles. So again, I said very hard to get 10 to 12 miles from anything. That's the heart of downtown. It's kind of it's like if Siesta Key Village and parts of Anna Maria Island's downtown area and Bridge Street had a baby. It's a very quintessential downtown kind of thing. It's got a daiquiri deck down there. It's nice. You can walk to the beach from almost 100% of the island, depending on how much you like to walk. Casperson Beach, Shark's Tooth, capital of the world in a lot of people's eyes. 13 miles. Just because of the route. Brohard Beach, only dog beach in the county. You kind of get the idea. That's important. All right, 12 miles. So there's all your beaches. There's your downtown. The bonus of the master plan is that's not your only downtown anymore. So you get to enjoy your own suburbs best of, and you get to enjoy the town's best of, and you get to be not far from the rest of the metro's best of, if that makes sense. You're 3.6 miles one way to downtown Wellen. And I'll do another video maybe on just downtown Wellen, but it's a proper downtown. Very, very nice. So again, it makes it compelling. Do you even need to go to downtown besides the beach? So that's very, very close to that. That's one of the big benefits of this Palmera district, the new district. The other thing that's cool, no pun intended, is Cool Today Park. That's 2.9 miles one way. Even if you're not a baseball fan, a lot of live events there. So that's kind of the gist of it to me. And there's golf and some random stuff around there as well. If you go south, this is Fort Myers. Cape Coral has more waterfront canals than even Venice, Italy itself. So it's kind of like a parrot head's paradise down there. And then Naples, Fort Myers down here. So you're really an in-betweener to the Southwest Florida Metro's south, not just Sarasota. All right, so this is the sacrifice you're taking right here, and it's just eye of the beholder. Because I think a little bit's overkill. I think if you're gonna go south, it's all pretty similar, but depending on traffic, of course. So downtown Sarasota, if you're gonna move to the area, you're gonna wanna be aware of this. 33 miles one way to downtown Sarasota. We'll map to Siesta Key Village. So there's 2 different bridges to get on Siesta Key, but the north of the island's where all the action is. 31 miles. And Lido Key, let's see, the St. Armand Circle, which I'm a big fan of, is just above it. So 34 miles, you got all of that. And then the other things that are interesting in town right now is this area right here is going to be a whole thing. 3H Ranch, High Hat Ranch. If you look at this area, it's going to be a whole, there's probably going to be like some sort of waterside or downtown Wellen kind of area there. There's going to be 14 different neighborhoods, I think in the next 5 to 10 years minimum. So that's going to be an access right here at Central Sarasota. And then the other thing is there's an area called Fruitville Commons. I don't want to get crazy here, but if you are in the weeds like me, this might be useful to you. Fruitville Commons is 28 miles. Fruitville Commons has a Cooper's Hawk kind of winery restaurant. There is I think they just put a Twin Peaks in there, which is kind of weird for Sarasota, but they put Big Top Brewing is in there as well, their headquarters. And then Waterside Place, which is the, like, kind of, if you're comparing Lakewood Ranch to Wellen, this is like what people love about Lakewood Ranch, is 32 miles. So, I mean, the benefit of Sarasota is the whole entire town is really condensed. So, I think that areas like this let you maybe choose where you would prefer to live, choose the ideal lifestyle for you, then take a step back after the fact and say, not after the buy, but before the buy, but after that original, like, where do I want to be and why? And say, what are my other options? How do I compare them? What is far to me? I mean, perspective of location is incredibly important. A lot of people that are commuting, 40 minutes and 3 miles of traffic right now, or live an hour and a half one way from the beach because they're inland in the United States. This stuff is gonna feel like nothing. Even traffic in Sarasota is perspective traffic, and you're also driving through sunshine and palm trees and bridges, and there's water everywhere. So I don't think that is, I don't think that's set enough. So anyway, that's location, and let's hop and talk about the builders themselves. All right, next up are the homes, the builders, the floor plans. There's a lot going on here. I'm gonna stick a little bit to the screen share. I think it's probably the most helpful. You can, of course, go on the internet and wander around. But what I would like to do, just to add the most value as possible, is pull out what I think is interesting and why, while simultaneously showing you everything you can get at the current moment and in the near future. All right, first thing I like, the builder MI is doing a couple things in here. The first thing they're doing, we're gonna kind of go small to big. First thing we're doing is townhomes. They're gonna do townhomes. They did this at Nautique in Waterside. It sold very fast, very kind of embraced this urban vibe of these new master plan concepts where they're turnkey. A lot of people really, really liked them. MI does single families as well, but the townhomes especially really like hit for people in the Florida kind of vibe. It gives you a price point that's not available in a lot of places, and a lot of size and some garage space for the price, basically. You're not gonna see a lot on the internet about Nautique or at MI townhomes at Palmera right now. There's a little snippet on their website that says that, but I wanted to show you what they look like. So this is a base what you're working with. Townhome, again, gives you size for the price. They started in the low 4s as a base price there. I would imagine it's going to be similar here. That's number one. Number two is you have Mattamy coach homes. Coach home is one person goes up, one person goes down. That's the big difference in the coach versus the townhome. They have 2 floor plans. They're going to start, one's going to start at $475, one's going to start at $525. And they did coach homes at Sarasota National. They do them a lot of the Lennar golf communities. Lennar is big on the coach stuff. They were interesting for not only interim options while you're building maybe a custom house, not full year residency, And space for the price. These are 2,300 square feet, 1,900 square feet. They're not tiny, tiny. And resale equity, they worked out in all of those ways for a lot of people. Third thing that I like is David Weekley single family home collection. So I've built 2 David Weekley homes. One in Tampa, one in Sarasota. They built at Fox Trace. They're building in Vestero, Venice. And David Weekley is kind of, it's kind of like Neil Communities. It's probably the closest person I would liken to them in style, but they are way more boutique. I know they build a lot in Texas too, but they're way more boutique. It's like really a family that you're not gonna see their advertising everywhere. So their process of how they build and like the hands-on experience is like a little bit more boutique feeling, family-owned feeling, but it's a normal builder. It's not custom, it's not semi-custom. But a good kind of balance. So they're gonna have, they're planning 5 floor plans right now, 639 to 739 base, and you're gonna get 2,300 to 3,700 square feet. And these are 100% 1 story. All right, next thing we got going on is, I really, really like this move. Homes by Towns, single family collection here. So Homes by Town built Lake House Cove, and now they're on to Shellstone. A lot of the plans that people loved, their whole front model row that set out in the middle of Waterside and Lakewood Ranch when there was 2 other total neighborhoods. So a lot of people ran through these models and can remember them. They're building in here. So the Outrigger was the flagship model right next to the parking lot. The Islander is the bottom stairs of the Tideland, which the Tideland was a model. That's my favorite personal model. And they have the Tideland is here as well. The Fairlead was a real peacock of a model. If you walked in, if you remember, it was more boxy, harsh colors. They had, like, the way they designed it was like a real peacock. It was on this big lake at a pool table, game room, that kind of thing. But the Fairlead, interesting floor plan, is in there. And the Weatherly, which they did not have a model for, was the biggest single family originally there, on a 1 story. And then they have the capstan. So they have a lot of models that are just tried and true. People really liked them. One of the closest things you can do to a custom house that's not being custom, and Homes by Town will do a little bit more for you than the average Joe. They do not build a ton. The most I've seen them in Florida at a given time, I think, was 3 total communities. This might be the height right now. Like them building Shellstone, not finished with Lake House Cove, and this might be like how many communities they're building in Florida right now. So again, a more boutique thing there as well, but like, you know, the stock development in Genoa of the Lake Club and these kind of things, a lot of Toll Brothers, Monterey, the Isles, like that kind of aesthetic here is going to be what you're going to get with them. And they're right now planning to build on 65-foot front lots, which will fit these home sizes well. There's that. MI Homes swings back in to do a larger collection. And they've done some larger homes at Sweetwater and a little bit in Oasis, but they're going to be up there with like some of the biggest homes in the neighborhood. So they're going to start in the 630s, and they're going to go to 830 base. You can do as much as 6 baths, as much as 5 bedrooms, and do about 4,000 square feet here. So you just kind of get a general aesthetic, but again, a lot of that like nicer neighborhood coastal stuff. And then lastly, as I digress, is there will be a full custom building option in here, which is nice. That's why I say it's a little something for everybody. It's a smattering platter. ICI Homes, I've talked to a lot of people that aren't familiar with them, but they have a very unique front aesthetic, but again, it's a custom home. So they're starting at 800s to about $1 million, and then it's depending on what you decide to do. But if you're someone that loves the neighborhood, if Homes by Town isn't quite right, I can see that being the bleed to ICI. I don't know if MI will come into the conversation where it's the 3 of them against each other. I think it might be MI, then Homes, and Homes is you're on the fence and you go to ICI. I could totally see that being the case, but if you just need a little bit more than Homes by Town is willing to do for you because they are not a custom builder in here, then ICI could satiate that need. But a lot of price points, a lot of different non-single family and single family, a lot of different builders amongst the single family, and all of that would add to the rarity of unicorn that the aesthetic will be, and the availability and variety and abundance for an incoming buyer. I think all of this helps you looking to do anything. So there's that. And let me hit one more. We'll talk amenities and what you can do next. All right. And lastly, let's talk about the lifestyle actually available exclusive to you and your neighbors only. We've already kind of went outside of that and said Sarasota in general, Venice in general. All right. So the idea here, I'll say it again. Everybody wants the amenities that are in Wellen Park Golf and Country Club or Brightmoor or something similar without age restriction or golf tie-in. Clubhouse, gathering lawn, that's the regular stuff. on-site dining in here with an on-site grill, more in a casual atmosphere. That is something that a lot of communities that are not country club or deed restricted communities do not have. There's a golf simulator in here, fitness center. There will be pickleball. Of course, a resort-style pool with lap lanes. There's a splash pad and playground. So this one has an interesting mix where I've seen a lot of the stuff that goes where, I have 2 kids that are almost an 8-year-old and a new 3-year-old. And I'm not like 25 years old, so we waited a little bit. And, so I found that a little bit of a struggle of balancing kind of the level of house I wanted maybe, or the neighborhood that I wanted without being like the most kid-friendly kind of Mallory Park thing necessarily, which was like not really what I completely prefer. Like I wanted a certain house, but then the house that I wanted maybe was in a neighborhood with 0 kids in it. So striking that balance is pretty difficult from a relocation standpoint of like where when you're getting in. Same with people that have no kids, empty nesting, but like don't hate kids, don't want to move to a retirement home, like don't mind kids being around. But if they build their custom home, is every other home going to be their $500K because they're also trying to like do too many things at one time? If that makes any sense. I feel like they've struck a nice balance here. I mean, it can work for it could work for families that want to buy the most expensive house in here. It could work for new like young families that want to start at a townhome and move up to a small single family, and none of it being weird together. I think all the property values work. The area accents it well. I don't think they went too crazy, too expensive for what it was, too cheap for what it should be. And I like that. So resort style splash pad, there's a playground in here. And then, you're going to have, the gas fireplace and all that kind of stuff around too. So a lot of the stuff you'd expect. But it's supposed to be really, really, really nice the way that they roll it all out. And then they have their little expansion piece of land that they have right there hugging US 41. So I think it'll all be good here in addition to downtown Wellen. All right, my friends, that is a wrap for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is the Florida Relocation Guide, your smartest way to buy, sell, and or invest across all of Southwest Florida. I was your host, Adam Hancock. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to try to release a video every Wednesday and Sunday for the entire balance of the year, which will allow me to cover a lot of different topics. So subscribing is just the best way to get notified when any of that's coming out. If you want to kind of keep track episodically, which would help with like timing of when videos are released and incentives and things like these. Beyond that, make sure you grab the 2025 Sarasota Florida Relocation Guide if you would like to. It's in the description box below. It's just a real quick trade for an email address. And also my 30-day email newsletter list. That's a really valuable piece of information to sign up for because you're just going to get a lot there that you don't get anywhere else. I handwrite an email. It's literally no pictures, nothing. It's just bullet points. Pop, 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 pop. We'll try to show it here while I'm talking. And then lastly, of course, if I can help you in the real estate market at all, you're ready now, if you're ready 10 years from now, we're not new construction specific. We're also not exclusive to just relocation. It's just what we do the majority of. So we just have a lot more examples of what someone like you watching could do because we've done it like a billion times. The timing of it, the buy sell of where you're at versus here, the total pot of money of the economics of how to do it, what might be best now based on what is also coming out in the future. We just have a lot of information because of the density of specific buyer relocation that we handle. And we would love to help in any way we can. Really, really unique team on the back of this YouTube channel. If you resonated with this style of speaking, this kind of information first methodology, then our real estate team is no different. It's really just taking the baton and continuing the process. I think the videos you're watching here are part of that process. And I think when you visit town, there's things to do in between. There's things to do when you're in town, and there's things to do after you leave town before you've purchased. And all of those can be done in a certain way that makes the process not only more valuable, but more enjoyable. So if any of that interests you, all my contact information has been here the whole time. Please reach out if I can assist you in any way, and we'll see you on the next one.